Wonderful. Padmaja, and everyone, a very good morning from the UK. Good afternoon to you, of course, in India. It's tremendous to be part of such a great conference. And it just shows us that the world is a global village. And in fact, we are interconnected by the innovation pathway that in various ways we all support. It's a great pleasure for me to present today. I'm David Dalton, co-founder and chairman of Oyster Venture Partners. We are an investment intermediary organization based both in the UK and in Europe. I'm here in the city of London at the moment. We have an office in Manchester, and also I'm joined by Benny Daniels from Insight Consulting, who's also a very close partner of Oysters, and he leads our European team based out of Belgium. So I just want to, I think Sanjeev very nicely began his keynote speech at the beginning with a story. I just want to give you an very short one, if I may, I think, to put a lot of this into context. One of the roles I've had in over many years has been working very closely with the trade agencies all over the world. And looking here at home, the UK Department for International Trade, for example, has a big organization, and it has outreach to India, and of course to the US and to various European countries. So I used to tour with UK Department for International Trade, and of course there'd be somebody from the department who would stand up and present to a cluster of 30 or 50 companies at some British embassy somewhere about the amazing landscape and the ecosystem that the UK, for example, represents. And then I would stand up and I would talk about the investment landscape, but in particular for local companies in each of the various countries that we were visiting. And I can remember one day in Finland, which of course is a particularly strong healthcare ecosystem. It's also a very well-funded environment with some significant funds indeed. But of course, the issue is that, you know, innovating companies on this global innovation pathway that we all share wish to go from their location and obviously go global, and that inevitably means stepping into another larger market, and then usually we all end up somewhere in the US and China, you know, at which point we all sort of exit and go to the beach. And I can remember the speeches being given, and I remember after about 30 minutes I had finished my session, and I asked the audience if they had any questions, and I was absolutely terrified by virtue of the fact that there wasn't a single question in the whole room. So it told me either that they had understood everything I had said, or they had understood absolutely nothing. So I asked the question back, and I sort of said, is anything about the process of securing investment for you as an innovator in what I have said in the last 30 minutes, does that resonate with you and indeed your company? And to my massive relief, every single hand in the room went up. And that effectively was the cathartic moment on which Oyster Venture Partners was born, because we realized that for innovators all over the world, these are typically scientific people, they're technologists, they're producing fantastic IP. And of course, the journey for them is about clearly going through all of the various processes, of which there are about 9 major stages, right the way from bench side to bedside. But of course, this is a scientific journey, this is a technology journey, and a necessary component of that journey is, of course, to raise capital as one goes through. But of course, the issue is we can't generate all the investment that is required on day one. The innovator would be diluted to death. So this requires several investment stages all the way through. And if one looks, for example, at the CFI, the Corporate Finance Institute in the US, did a survey of 3,000 innovators who had presented their investment capabilities or their investment proposition to investors for investment. And of the 300, only 200 of those propositions were looked at seriously. And of the 200, only 20 of them ended up being invested. That is 0.7% of the original 3,000. So you can see that there is a significant difficulty for innovators to not just develop their technology or their proposition or their science, but also at the same time to go and secure investment that actually keeps the show on the road. And the fundamental reason for that, in our direct experience, and I think of many investor experiences, is that the slide decks that come into us are 70% about the technology, there's always a fantastic slide on the brilliant management team, how big the market is and so on. But what the investor is looking for in the other direction, looking at the innovation market, is a story which explains to them what it is that if they were to put in 1x of their money at their risk into an innovating company, what is the story that takes them to a 10x return at some point down the track? So what we have, of course, are the innovators and the investment market actually slightly missing one another. So the whole role of Oyster Venture Partners is indeed to make the translation between fantastic science, I should say, and technologies, and a great compelling investment story. So that sort of deals with the fundamental raison d'etre for Oyster. So we bridge the difference between the innovators' thinking and the investors' thinking, which are not exactly aligned at the very start. So we have deal flow that's coming into us all the time from around the world. We have clients in South America, North America, Canada, Europe, and so on. And we're delighted, of course, to have this opportunity to present to you within the Whale Tank today. And we very much hope to develop further collaborations with you. Indeed, we already have a partner client in India, a small molecule platform technology company that we are supporting, and will be leading it to and through investment, but not before we do some preparatory work to bring them up to investment ready standard at the first instance. So fundamentally, we're working with the Luxembourg government. We're putting together a European investment center that will be specifically designed for regions such as Asia to expand into European markets, and indeed for US companies to expand into European markets, and of course vice versa, with all of the support capabilities, the connectivity with all of the clusters, and a proposition which enables investors to secure investment faster. The common journey we are all on is to deliver more healthcare and better healthcare to more patients at lower cost, but to do so sooner to relieve some of the pressures that are on healthcare systems. So with that, I would like to say I'll be happy to take any questions at the end, but thank you very much indeed for this opportunity.
Thank you, David, and appreciate your keeping to the time. Naganand, can I invite you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Padmaja, and happy to be here, and thanks for inviting me, and glad to hear everybody else speaking. So just a quick introduction about our fund and myself. I'm an entrepreneur, not from the life sciences space, but more from the software networking background. But I've been investing in India for the past 6 years. And one of the key trends we are identifying in India as we speak is the emergence of life sciences and biotech as a new area where the government is supporting a lot. The education system and the academic system and the research system has a lot of potential. But what we are observing in India, at least at this stage, is the number of venture capitalists or the funding available for these kinds of companies, in spite of having places like Bangalore Biocenter, C-Camp, and the facilities in Pune and Hyderabad. There's still the capital ecosystem is still catching up with where the research and the academic positioning are. But one of the thoughts we have in the fund is now to also support a few life sciences / biotech companies in our fund, and we typically do early stage, and we are working with all these places like C-Camp and Bangalore Biocenter and a few others to identify these kinds of startups and then support them early on in the journey. Happy to say that Padmaja and me are co-invested in a company called Immune, which is trying to solve or find cure for autoimmune skin diseases like vitiligo. But we do expect a lot more such opportunities and lot more such companies coming out of India. So we not only need people like us in early stage to be participating in investing, but we need the larger ecosystem from India, from across the world, to come and look at the opportunities that exist in India. Because, as you have seen with the recent vaccine development, India is one of the premier places where a lot of development is taking place. And rest assured, there are a lot more things happening in the country. So we are very excited to participate in few of these opportunities, but there are a lot more opportunities that exist both for early stage and later stage companies. And I know, speaking for Padmaja, IAN is also starting a life sciences fund. So I'm going to take a zing out of some of the things she's going to say, but we are very happy where we are. But one of the things that is lacking again in India is a number of, if you look at US and other countries, there are a lot of people with very strong biotech background starting funds and raising capital in the market, and that is still quite early in India. We are hoping that many more startups one day become successful. Sorry, there's a plane taking off right about my house. I don't know why, but we do expect a lot more funds to come in, but we do require a lot of additional capital help and also the help from the industry from across the world to come and help the ecosystem, like it has happened in the software space, because we have done really well in the past 10-15 years in the regular VC, quote unquote, the SaaS or product innovation and so on and so forth. But biotech and life sciences is still emerging, so it'll be great to have more participation with the investors like us and IAN and a few others in India. But look forward to talking to the startups today and see how we can participate in some of this. Thanks, Padmaja, and I've used less than 5 minutes. You have more time now.
Thank you, and welcome to partner in more investments. And as I come to what I have to share, I'm going to pull you into doing more work. You've been getting off cheap. But if I see Rajesh Pathak, who's joined. Rajesh, can you hear us?
Okay. He's
Not
traveling,
yet.
ma'am. So
Okay,
I'll
just okay, no issues. Amrita, may I invite you to share your thoughts?
Of course. Thank you, Padmaja. So first, I would like to congratulate the organizer for this platform. I think it's excellent. It's a platform for the global stakeholders in the biotech sector to come in, and certainly it will help the young startups from India to get their idea into commercial state. So just to introduce myself, I'm Amrita. I'm leading the investments at a venture capital firm based in Europe. It's called VC. And with VC, so just to get a bit impression about our investment focus and how we invest. So we invest in young biotech companies, and our prime focus is the longevity and anti-aging sciences. It means how to live healthy and long. I think it's a dream for everyone. So, and it comes very broad interventions from drug discovery to medtech, health tech inventions. So far, we invested into 5 young biotech companies, which ranges from early stage cancer diagnostics to data analytics based on AI, drug discovery, and the AI-based skin analytics. So wide range of new and emerging technologies. So far, our prime investment geography has been US and Europe, but we are open for a more broader geography, so Asian, South Asian, Indian markets, when a genuine company and a genuine idea with a good team comes in. So with saying this, I would be, so in terms of the fund, but also in terms of my personal connections and network that I've built over the years, I would be really happy to support our Indian startups to get footholds, and also if they want to expand to US and Europe territories, I could help them to connect to the young member, the network here. So with that, yeah, looking forward for reading, hearing the best startups from India coming out, and hopefully connect them to the right connections.
Thank you, Amrita, and rest assured, I will be taking you on to help some of our startups. They are expanding globally, and Europe is very much one of the target markets. So look out for my badgering you a bit.
Looking forward to partnership.
Okay, I have Rajesh. I think Rajesh Pathak, can you hear me? Rajesh, can you hear me? You're on mute though. Okay, till he sort of connects in. If I may invite Benny Daniels.
Okay, this is a little bit unexpected because we were sharing the talk with David, and David actually assumed our
okay.
responsibility.
So maybe then you want to share something briefly, as David has covered quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I've been working with Johnson & Johnson and GlaxoSmithKline and the vaccines. That may be interesting to many people. And I've been in India and visiting Bharat and Serum and other companies in the vaccine area. But anyway, we're focusing now on early stage companies in this context, which is very interesting for India. And David mentioned already, together with Prabhat, we are exploring ways and pathways to facilitate and to help and support Indian companies in a kind of dual effort with Luxembourg and Western Europe to support early stage companies and middle-sized companies. So in that, later we can disclose a little bit more about that. Working together with Luxembourg, a new fund is being created with a smart and lean organization and regulatory according to Luxembourg law, which will allow also Indian companies to tap into European money. So that's probably what I can say at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you for that. May I invite Svetlana from Genome Capital?
Hello. For me, it's a great pleasure to participate in this amazing event. And yesterday I enjoyed to hear great speakers, and today amazing team. Thank you so much. So briefly about us, we are a venture firm that is focused on investments in health tech, early stage startups, digital medicine, and affordable diagnostic solutions. Because we see the strong demand for cheaper and more affordable solutions in medicine, especially in emerging markets. So we're located in Moscow, in Abu Dhabi. So we just like spread it, team. And I have the background and economy and law, and for the last 7 years worked for the largest state VC fund focused on health tech and biotech globally. So we invested in founders originally coming from Israel, US, or Europe, or Russian founders. And my partner, Veronica, she's a PhD in molecular biology, graduated in France, and also was medical lead of Roche in oncology, and also lead a cluster of biotech startups in, it's called like Russian Silicon Valley, Skolkovo. So we are together have this complementary competence. And yes, we are both, when we join with other partners, we understand there's a great opportunities here. However, during our free time visit of India during this year, we was in Bangalore, we were in Delhi, communicate with different people, including managing partners of the largest American funds that are now in India and booming the market, because they say, come on, this is the street in Bangalore, you have this unicorn. For previous years, we had 84 unicorns, blah, blah, blah. I say, guys, how much investment you have in health tech? And they say, only few. I go, what's the problem? I see in huge you see a lot of great pipeline of Indian founders, startups. In academy in Europe, we have a lot of originally Indian science. Why not health tech? Right now, health tech is not the focus, but we do believe there's a great potential there. So our journey, what we start to find the question for each startup is not only amazing science, as everyone, previous speaker noted. And the other problem is fundraising. So where to take funds? And it's happened in my view that fund and location of startups are not similar. So for example, you have, I don't know, up to 5,000 of biotech startups in India, and funds that invest there in Europe or in US. Now the Middle East became very active participant in health tech, because they are focused to develop the health industry and have the resources to invest, because very simple, they are beneficiary of oil price growth and like this. So we consider that now to make the effective healthcare startups, you should make the global company from the beginning. So you should fundraise not only from locals, but from globals. You should communicate with not only local startups, but with foreign startups to understand where are you equal, how you pitch, what is the success story, what can you study from, what can you learn from them to be similar success story. So I do believe that local successful healthcare startups right now is almost impossible. It's all about connected with all the world, and just not only because of markets. In India, you have a really big market in comparison to other countries, but still fundraising is still the global process. So that's what we're talking now, and we talk to our original Russian startups. We talk similar absolutely with Indian startups because we start to communicate with them. We start to form our pipeline, and we see the strong interest from original Indians that live in London or US. You're very attracted to them. So yes, but still, right now the startup should be global. That's why we're here and very happy to be here. And we believe in your strong potential. But yes, we should be more commercialized, focused. We should communicate with all the world to be the most attractive for investors. And I'm sure that we could be successful. So that. And maybe a few words to my partner, Veronica, maybe you want to add something, so please, I think it will be valuable.
Thank you, Svetlana.
Thank you.
Svetlana. Let's try and see if there's a little time, and then we can surely weave in Veronica, if it's okay. So I did want to invite Dr. Rajesh Pathak, and I think the reason I'm sort of very keen for him to be able to join in, he is the CEO of the Technology Development Board of India under the Department of Science and Technology. And they do invest in young startups in the science technology arena. So it will be very useful to my mind for the audience if he's able to join and share what, his insights. Yes, Rajesh, go ahead.
Am I audible now? Okay, okay. Thank you.
Not very much, but try talking. We'll try and catch up.
Yeah, please. Because since I am in the move, so some network problem. Friends, I am Rajesh Pathak. I am the Secretary Technology Development Board, Government of India. And we are a unique organization within the setup of government who is supporting a startup across sectors. And most of us, our funding is going to pharma sector, your biotechnology and others. For example, let me just tell the audience this COVID vaccine, that Covaxin manufactured by Bharat Biotech. Their first project was funded by Technology Development Board for vaccine in India. And you name any pharmaceutical company engaged in biotechnology field, their projects we have supported. And our support mainly extends not only in terms of financial, but also technological expert available in their field. So we engage them for evaluating the project as well as supporting them throughout their journey till their project is getting completed and the project is launched in the market. We have so many, I think around more than 100 such projects. As of now, around 10 or 15 such project is already running with respect to a biosimilar or any API and etc. Not only biotechnology, we have supported other sectors also. For example, the first electric car manufactured in India by Reva, their project was supported by us. But nevertheless, since this is related to biotechnology, I will stick to biotechnology field only. So our aim is to develop any startup we have, or if for that matter, if you're an established company also and want to start your business in India, since many of audience have joined from US and other part of the world, and they are very interested as I was listening to them. So you can collaborate with any Indian company and form a joint venture. And then in any of the new technology interventions, we just look into the fact that technology has to be innovative and it's beneficial for the society. And it has to be the Indian company, that more than 51% stake. And then your project you submit to us through our website. It is open 24/7, 365 days. And once you submit your project, then we form an expert committee consisting of faculties from the respective IITs or AIMS, depending upon the subject matter. And then the faculty not only evaluate your project, and if your project is true, then the faculty will be with you at every stage through a project monitoring committee, we call it. And then we fund your 50% of your capex investment if your technology at TRL level 7, be it 7 or 8, and ready for commercialization. We are not in the domain of research and development as such, but one of our sister concern in Department of Biotechnology called BIRAC, they support many such biotechnological intervention through grant. And our financial support is mainly restricted to loan components, since it is a commercialization stage. And
Rajesh, you're inaudible.
once,
Rajesh, why don't you switch off your video?
yeah.
Your voice may come through clearer.
Yeah, now it's clear, little bit.
Yeah, little better. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I was talking that what kind of financial support we extend. So as I told you, if your entire project say cost, let's say 10 crores in Indian currency, then maximum 50%. Now we have already taken in principle decision that for a startup, we are going to extend this financial support to the extent of 70% of their project cost. Around 50% of that through loan and 20% through equity investment by Government of India through Technology Development Board at level TR 7 and above if your project is there. So not only, but the only concern is that it has to be an Indian company and across any field. So even biotechnology, we have supported so many concerns, so many companies, so many startups. Okay? So any of you today are interested, and plus we do not charge for your project submission and project evaluation, entire cost borne by Government of India. We bear the cost. So if you have and your technology at high advanced level around TRL 7, where you need fund for its commercialization, then you are most welcome and submit your project through our website. Thank you. Thanks for giving me time. And for any query and question, I'm open. And I would request that if somebody has any question, please just put right now so that I can answer, because I am not sure whether this network will remain or not.
No, Rajesh, why don't you please?
Yeah.
Right, Rajesh, why don't you put your email ID in the chat box? Then whoever has queries, they can write to you directly. Right, because you're on the road, I think, so it's erratic.
Yeah, I'm on the road. I will do that.
Okay, thank you, Rajesh, and thank you. And I think you've taken out time from a festival today, so thank you, appreciate that. Before Avinash and I continue, I'd like to invite Veronica. Veronica, if you have a couple of minutes, you want to just quickly grab, because genome has already been covered.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, dear organizers, for the invitation, and dear colleagues. It's a big pleasure to hear your thoughts today. And I just wanted to add that as a cancer biologist by training, I was really fascinated by the startups who were presenting yesterday. And I see a very strong science, especially in cancer research in India. Because when I was working for the leading European universities, majority of my colleagues, I would say, were from India, Indian scientists. And that is why I particularly believe in the Indian biotech sector. And I believe that it's getting stronger and stronger and can really have a good potential to build global companies so that the whole world can be using Indian vaccines and drugs in future. And that's our mission, to help companies from the early stage to the middle stage, and then to find a strategic investor for the globalization. I think that's from my side. And also, we're also working in the digital sector and see also strong IT scientists in India. So that is why India is a particularly interesting sector for us from both sides, from basic science, but also in the IT approach in the health tech.
Thank you, Veronica. Appreciate your sticking to the time. Avinash, I'll just do my little piece and hand it over to you to then conclude and do the question answers. Hopefully your system would have stabilized.
My voice is stabilized, but my video doesn't like me at all. I tried. It doesn't like me. So I'll just keep
Sorry about that.
away from it.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Padma.
Thank you. So I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Padmaja Ruparal. I am a co-founder of Indian Angel Network, which is India's first angel investor group. We literally brought in the concept of angel investing. We've now created a platform play of seed and early stage investing. We have an angel group, which is very active in actively investing. At times, I think too fast for me. Very active. We at least do about 30-35 million of investment only on the angel group per annum. We've also have a venture capital fund, which has been again invested completely, and we're raising our next one. The reason I think biotech has been of huge interest to us, in fact, as an angel investor group in India, we were the first to take the risk of investing in a stem cell research company, in an oncology company, in a biotech company, very, very early in our lifetime, in the life of the Indian Angel Network. And some have failed, I must admit, but some have succeeded, and that has really created a huge appetite within our investors and the fund to continue to invest. Just a quick stats, we have invested in about 200 companies across 17 sectors, healthcare, biotech, med devices, genome, precision medicine like Amune, which we've co-invested with IdeaSpring. All of those we've covered. We've invested in India and 7 other countries in the world. And we've got our own share of unicorns, 3 unicorns, 5 to 6 soonicorns, hopefully, if the markets play out well. And I think the most important fact for us as investors is not only that we are investing, but more importantly, we are being able to give returns to our investors, which makes us, and for our entrepreneurs, a very valuable platform. So every single year for the last 12 years, we've been giving cash returns to our investors in at least 3 companies. And many of them have actually gone laughing to the bank with about 100x or 70x kind of returns. However, what we've not been very common and not been very frequent about is returns from biotech and healthcare companies. Only one of them has given a huge return. But after the pandemic, we've seen a huge number of deal flow coming in from this sector, and investors literally falling over themselves to invest in this sector. So I think one of the outcomes of the pandemic has been a great focus on health, and I'm sure all of you have also seen that there's been a huge focus on health, wellness, both preventive and curative propositions, and convergence of technology and science for health has been very common. We've invested in companies which have great innovation, and I think great technology entrepreneurs. But one of the things that we are missing in this country, and that's purely from what I see around me both on our platform and in the ecosystem, is we are not seeing great co-founders who bring in the business side of it. It doesn't mean that every company is building on an execution play and going down the revenue line. Of course, there are many which in this sector, which will be IP plays. But even in IP plays, I think there is an understanding of how to get things done. For instance, clinical trial process, FDA approval, CA approvals. These are all very, very important for IP plays to sort of create value. So I think the one thing that we are missing, and we are trying to sort of plug that, is in the larger context, the business thinking in what we think are science and technology entrepreneurs. The second thing that we, 3 to 4 years ago, we were missing is there was a lot of innovation that was coming in from BIRAC, especially. They have created a huge ecosystem, and I am one of their biggest fans as a government body, because they are an arm of the Department of Biotech, what they've been able to do. And they've invested, the government has sort of put in a lot of money and invested in innovation in this sector. But after a while, either they die down or they switch outside of India. So they just move the company overseas. And that has been primarily because the government can do this far and no further. And there's been no private money coming in, very, very scant private money coming in. I mean, there are very few sector agnostic investors 3-4 years ago who would, like IdeaSpring, Naga's fund, which would have looked at healthcare and invested in that. So I think that is the big pain point. So the two things that we've done, and we've now launched BioAngels. It is India's first sector-focused angel investor group. And it is probably globally the first angel investor group to partner with the government. And the idea is to invest and unlock private money for healthcare, biotech, medtech, all of that, wellness, all of that. And we're seeing a lot of interest there. It is a very inclusive platform. We are open to investing in India and overseas. We have invited all angel investors, irrespective of whether they are IN investors or not, micro VCs, venture capital funds, super angels, family offices, corporates. We do see this as a very inclusive platform with investors from India and overseas, because we do believe that health is a very important sector for all of us, for all citizens. And the more innovation and the more money that we can unlock, it will only go to build a healthier country and also a healthier globe. We are also very, very cognizant of the fact that growth stage money is not easy in India in this sector. So overseas money, overseas investors, shareholders, and that connect is very important, because as companies grow, and we have very smart entrepreneurs, let me share that with everybody, they need more money, and these overseas investors will help them to grow even further, while India itself still gets starts to build its growth sector money. Finally, I think what I do want to share is all of this is very good, unlocking, but the most important thing is to bridge the gap with what David said between innovation and investors. And one of the big problem statements that we recognized, or at least we thought, was that there are investors who are interested in invest. I mean, every deal that we open at IAN, it gets subscribed in 5 minutes. But what is very important is money is available from non-domain investors, from people who have not, sort of built businesses in this sector, but they do want to invest in this sector. So how do we get that done? And one of the things that we thought was very important is to make science simple, right? Because innovators build very scientific solutions, very technology solutions, and they think science and technology, and it's very difficult for them to unravel that to a layman and say, this is why this science is so important. This is why it's the best thing after sliced bread. This is why it is something which is going to be so unique and global as it grows. So what we have done to take a step is we've partnered with BIRAC and DBT to actually be able to access their domain experts. They have a huge number of scientists and technology experts in their ecosystem. And we've sort of said we would do this because BIRAC wanted us to put this angel group together. If we can have access to these experts who will help us to understand the innovation and the science behind the propositions in a layman's language, so we can unlock more money for them. So I think what we are therefore trying to do is to create a very, very high traction, but a very simple way for investors to invest in high technology companies by bringing in people who can explain it, explain the business of science, explain the need, and explain the solution. We think, and I'll tell you why we think that. We think this is going to be one of the fastest growing sectors in the country for both investments and entrepreneurship, both in India, and many of our companies have already started going global, and I think many more will. The reason I'm saying this, our fund, which we've just completed investing, almost 25% of the fund, which we had not planned, has gone into healthcare, biotech, pharma. We've invested in 3D printing of human organs. We've done innovation for cornea. We've done med devices. We've done ventilator devices, and many more. So just to keep myself a little short and end here, I think I'm very, very bullish on this sector, and that's my whole reason to join FABA's platform, and I must thank them for inviting me. But what I do want to do is invite all of you to engage with the Bio Angels and the IAN ecosystem. I think it's together that we can make a difference. None of us can do it alone. And we are very inclusive. We'd love to figure out different ways of engagement and partnerships. On that note, I'd stop. I've put my coordinates on the chat box, so feel free to write to me. And on that note, let me pass the baton to Avinash. Avinash, can you hear me?
Is this, yeah, sure. Thanks, Padmaja, and thanks for pitching in for me. I'm really sorry for the network here.
No, this is an example of being able to do things together, as I said.
Absolutely, Padmaja. So my little bit, I'm a clinician turned investment banker. I practiced medicine and hematology for some time, did my finance and moved into the business of life sciences. 15 years in pharmaceutical, hands-on across functions, sales, marketing, clinical trials, etc., and then went into investment banking. This is my 14th year in investment banking. The change, a couple of pointers here for all of the colleagues here. I'm sure we are still trying to figure out what are the opportunities exactly. So India has come a long way. Padmaja has put it very eloquently that India has traveled some distance, and while they have done their bit, so that obviously there's some. Okay.
I'll rectify it, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Avinash, you're on mute.
Is this better?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying that India, the government has done its bit on bringing the ecosystem thus far, and not only the NIDUS, but we have matured to a certain stage. In the cycle, typical cycle of innovation for any country as a whole. Obviously, there are the early stage where the government has to pitch in, or sort of non-finance guys or non-commercial guys. That's typically the government which takes over the role of investments. We've done wonderful job, and if you guys look at some of the websites, BIRAC, for example, TDB, for example, you'll find ample projects, good examples of how the government has sort of kickstarted, it's sort of ignited the minds. There was a time when the innovators would run helter-skelter for early stage investments, but I think that part is over now. So we've seen innovations coming in from all parts of the country. This is very important. Not just the cities and the metro cities. We've seen guys pitching in from Bhubaneswar, and these are all northeastern region when I say them. So right from northeast to south to of course west was almost always ahead of times. But if you had to put the flags on the innovation centers and over the country, I now see green flags in many places now. So I was trying to impress upon you that we have passed that early stage of difficulty or uncertainty. Now the government has matured, so which means the investments are coming into the mature. So this is a typical life cycle. I want to point out to you guys a couple of gaps here. So while we do early stage and early innovation, there is almost always a necessity for a commercial handholding for this innovative companies or investees. So that's a big gap here. So we've now sort of gone over the board on in terms of startups. If you look at the number of startups that have come up, but the gap is now how do you take them to the next level in terms of commercial next step, which is what Padmaja also pointed out that there was a lack in taking those innovations in the commercial sense. Let me ask you guys a question. See, there's another gap. Early stage investors are plenty. Late stage investors are plenty. So how do you hold the hand? How do you see yourself investing in the gap between the sort of early stage and the late stage? Because this is where now we have the largest gap in the country. Let me start from David. Do you see this as an opportunity for investments here?
Thank you very much indeed for the question. The way we are organized is that Benny, who's co-presenting with me today, effectively focuses on early stage, and at a point when a company is sufficiently mature, it is handed over then to Oyster. So roughly speaking, in the $3 to $5 million range, that's the sort of threshold. Benny is handling everything up to 5 million. We're handling everything pretty much above it. So we're geared to the sort of expectations that the mid and later stage investors have. Benny is very much geared towards the earlier stage. So we just see it as a continuum. I mean, we have obviously access to an enormous database of qualified sort of investors. So the question is that as we get to know the particular proposition, we identify in parallel the investors who are looking to invest in that particular technology at that particular stage, that particular level of risk in that particular geography. So we have all those issues qualified. I've issued to everybody on the chat box a link. Is called OA1, which is Oyster Assessment 1. It's data gathering, and what it is effectively, if you can complete any of that, then what we do is take it through an evaluation process. We'll be back to you, of course, and be very happy to liaise with you on how the investment strategy for your particular proposition would best work. And of course, Benny is the key contact.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your question.
Absolutely. And the next one would be for Genome, both for Svetlana and Veronica, who seem to be more interested in the pharma, or sorry, let's put it this way, the chemicals, specialty chemicals, and I guess technology in terms of oncology was another area they mentioned. How about medtech devices? Because devices are plenty. In India, I think the largest number of innovations are toward medtech devices. There's a sort of a convergence, sort of a marriage of sorts. India is good in IT, we are good at engineering, and now there is a marriage of sorts between engineering and science, or engineering and medicine. So how do you see your investments in the medtech or devices segments, if at all?
Thank you for your question. Yes, you're absolutely right that we see that there is strong pipeline in especially medical devices. Affordable medical devices are coming from Indian founders. And we see here that our mission, like as we invest in early stage startups, so we accumulate these solutions because, you know, it seems to me that to distribute single devices for each startups to make really great distribution is really hard, because if you compare it to large companies, so for one science people, they have 5 sales people. So we consider that here the solution is just accumulation of the startups pipeline and growing sales, and then a sale to strategic investors. So that's what we're doing. And of course, to do this, we need funds. And funds, yes, could be no. In our case, is coming from Middle East. So that's how we see the way.
Would you have any hassles, or would you be worried about where the IP lay, or where the intellectual property would it be? Would you have any hassles around ownership of how do you say? Because India, if BIRAC or if Indian government has an investments, as Padmaja was also mentioning, we want to see that the innovation is first available to the Indian population. Do you see any hassles or any hurdles around such a thought? This is very specific to the government-based startups I'm talking about. Otherwise, of course, there's no such issues. So again, the same question, how do you see yourself on the IP? Are you okay with it residing in the country of origin?
You know, as at the beginning, I said that we focused on emerging markets. So as my idea that not any startups that focus only on local markets, on local investors, on local strategic exits, most likely will not succeed. So emerging markets is not only about India, it's also Africa. They have this same absolutely problem as we have in India. You have MENA region, it's about 600 population. So we're talking about global startups that focus on global markets. So that's why, of course, as I understand that state have the interest that the startup scaling on India markets, and it's not excluded the idea that startup can fund globally, because it's difficult for them to start to fund locally. So to scale the business, they have no opportunity to scale. So it's like, you know, should be balanced approach. So yes, global focus. Of course, as early investors, Indian state maybe have some requirements to scale the business, to start from India markets. It's, I think, all negotiable, sorry. But the market, your market is not only India, because similar problem absolutely in your closest neighbors. They have absolutely the same problems as you are. So that's why I think to focus only in India market, it's not.
You're right, Svetlana, but you're right. However, I must tell you the regulatory hurdles are aplenty. So they are probably different for different regions. So probably it would be, and that's again a uphill task to meet all the regulatory requirements elsewhere. But I get your point, and I get your sentiments. Let me take next one to Amrita. You are in a very focused on a long play, so longevity. These are, would you also therefore look at fitness devices? Is that what you're looking at, or longevity in what form? If you can, because it was intriguing. So is it in pharma? Is it in biotech? Is it in devices? Is it in standard fitness trackers? Because of course we have to mature beyond the fitness, the Fitbits things, but it would be interesting to hear which specific areas in longevity would you like to invest? I guess we have some coming up from India too, but go ahead, Amrita.
Okay. Yes. So as you already mentioned, that the longevity is really a broad sector. So So far, I think the main focus was to fight the diseases, so cure the diseases, so we don't, so the person can extend the lifespan. But I think with the progress of science, the field is moving towards recognizing the age as such as a disease. It means the first, how to live healthy, don't get age faster, and then second would be, okay, it's a dream shot, but reversal of the aging. It means we could redirect the symptoms of aging, and the person could become more young-like. So this is a dream shot, but I think this is the way the field is moving.
Amrita, it's a pretty, how do you say, it's a long runway. I don't know how small, how do you say, a venture capital who has got a small runway, how they'll be able to capture a long runway. But I'm sure you must have your own, how do you say, strategies by marked up. Naganand, you've been quiet for some time. Where would you put your first, the current situation in India, as we all know, elsewhere too, of course, are difficult times now. And a lot of startups have almost reached their goalpost, but the last mile is becoming difficult. Would you think that is a good spot for investment for you? The last mile?
Absolutely not. So yeah, to be brutally honest, I think like I was saying, we need like we have in the normal space that we are all used to, where we have a good path from angel to seed to Series A and all the way beyond to Series C, Series D. I think it's very lacking in the life sciences biotech space. I think the ecosystem has to develop, but the ecosystem will not develop till you start funding early stage companies. They show promise, and people will then come to invest in them. But that's a huge risk. I think if you ask me about biotech, pharma companies, startups in India with focus on drugs and other things, I think it's still a huge risk. So what we have to do is either get innovative in the way we invest in certain companies. For example,
may I stop you for a moment, Naganand, because there is a reason. I totally understand, go by you when you're talking of small molecule research, or let's say pharma type of research, but there are ample opportunities in the medtech devices space, believe me. And they are literally struggling at this stage. I don't want to call them as low hanging, but at least their life cycles are shorter than the pharma life cycles. So this is where my pointers were around investments in late stage, last mile rather than late stage, last mile investments.
Yeah. So we have made one investment in a medtech device in Fund 2, and they're working on a device using near infrared that will ease pain, right? But once you get into hardware, there's a mindset also, like coming from an actual hardware, saying hardware is commoditized very quickly, or the investment, even to get into hospitals and things like that, the investment required in hardware is quite high. So at least the mindset does exist that if it's just purely hardware medical devices, either one, the sales will be very hard to achieve, or two, even if it's hard sales to achieve, then what does it take for somebody to come and replicate it, and how do you protect your IP? So there are still a few questions even in the medtech devices space that needs to be answered, right? So
believe me, Nagaran, these are all standards. Believe me, these are all. I'm being very honest and brutal here. These are all, how do you say, standard hurdles we come across. Standard,
yeah, but that's Avinash, so those hurdles are what impacts investment, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it might be standard, but that's a reality.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I agree. The time has come to
I'm telling you the reality. I know.
Is there a way where we can, how do you say, look at different methods, or can we? I'll tell you an example. Last few years, we've been taking a different route altogether. We started mentoring, not only brought in small investments, we started mentoring a company. We started in 2010. It was about 8-10 member company, pure medtech devices, but in fact of pharma medtech device. It was bordering on pharma medtech. So which means smart solutions, pharma solutions, but on a device. So we took in sort of an executive position, which means not only just handhold, not only mentor.
Sorry to disturb. We are getting over
Okay.
time.
I'm sorry.
I just see it's going in a
I'm sorry.
discussion mode.
So I'll finish this. What
Sure,
I
sir.
started. I'll close the loop. So this company, which is a purely tier 3 city in India, we brought in their first investments at $1 billion valuation, and today they are probably seeking an exit at $3.5 billion. So it was just a matter of handholding and mentoring to taking it in a different route altogether, not just investments. So is there a way where I'll stop here. It's a long story, but I was trying to figure out whether there were other ways or other means of relooking our methods of investments. Thank you, friends. Thanks for your time. This is very interesting, and believe me, India is happening, and we seriously look forward to connecting you to Padmaja is running a fantastic chain. So also Naganand, we look forward to taking you on the ground in India. Thank you again. Thanks.
Great.
I'm done.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.